All right, what's up, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook? We're on all of them tonight. This is the GOATcast podcast for January 8th, 2025. I know we're a day late. We're usually on Tuesdays, but yesterday was just a busy day. I am CW wearing some new merch, the GOATcast podcast hoodie, um, coming to a store near you. But we have that going on right now, and we have my man Big Nine. We know who Big Nige is, but we're going to introduce our guest for tonight, King Speech. If you've been in any of the GOAT James or FYF sports debates, Michael Jordan's a fans live streams these past couple of days or weeks. He's been a big part of those, and we appreciate you showing up and kicking it with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So today we have a few pretty good topics, and hopefully you guys will enjoy these topics. But as you know, tonight is a big night in the NBA. We have two historic teams going at it: the OKC Thunder versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And tonight, both of them number one in the East and West. We have the number one offense versus the number one defense in the entire league. And like you said, what was the combined record? I believe it was
61-9.
61 and 9. That's crazy. That is great basketball being played by those two teams. So before we get to that tonight, before you guys hop on the tube and watch that, we're going to preview what we think about this and what it means for the NBA. So I'm going to let Big Nige start out. What do you think this Thunder versus Cavs game tonight means for the NBA, and how big and how crazy should this game be for the NBA tonight?
I think this game is going to be a really big eye-opener for a lot of casual NBA fans, because now we're finally starting to see, the importance of depth, right? What we lament to about the Boston Celtics is, like they say, how deep the Celtics are and how switchable their defense is, all those things. But now we're seeing other teams kind of, pull from that Celtic mold, and build up from the draft. We're not seeing these players come, inorganically. If we're seeing, for the Cavs, how they got Donovan Mitchell, and then the development of Garland, Mobley, Allen, all of those guys are starting to come together under Kenny Atkinson. He pretty much, like I said in the previous video, he unlocked this team, right? He got everybody to buy in, and he even got the role players, gritty, hungry to score, ready to make an impact, regardless if it's for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 2 minutes. Everybody out there looks poised and ready to go. And you can say the same thing about the Thunder. I mean, Shea is having an historic season, which is crazy because he's of only one of the four guards in history to average 30 points per game and on a 15-game win streak. He joins the company of 2018 Harden, and we understand how great he was. 96 MJ, which I know a lot of the Jordan fans understand that's like one of the best versions of MJ. Then you got 2016 Curry, who was on that unbelievable stretch, and 2025 Shea. And of all of those guys, all three of them were MVPs. So does that mean Shea is going to be MVP this season? We got to see. But this is definitely a good day for the NBA. The number one defense in the Thunder will play the number one offense in Cleveland. So it's an exciting game. I can't wait to watch it, and it's definitely going to be a really good one.
I agree. I think King Speech, you ready? What you think about this game tonight? The Thunder and the Cavs.
It's historic. It's historic. 61-9. Like you said, number one defense versus number one offense. Styles clashing. Two well-coached teams. I say these are the games that the league should be pushing. Right? They really should be pushing great teams. Great players. You're gonna have a great team. Here's the thing: you're gonna make new stars on great teams. And SGA should be a household name. I know a lot of people know Spider Mitchell, right? They know Spider-Man Mitchell, but they should know Evan Mobley. Casual should know how good Jared Allen is on the boards and the rim protection. Garland is a solid, steady point guard. The coach was a Kenny Atkinson for Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly, OKC's coach is just out coaching. He's just out coaching cats left and right. So his name should be known. Also, Isaiah Hartenstein, who You know, many of my I'm a Knicks fan, so many of my fellow Knicks
Oh
fans know who he
man.
is.
Oh.
They are 19. They what? They are 20-1 now with him in the lineup. Look, 2 years ago when the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, everybody made fun of it. Oh my God, is how you overpay for this role player? Blah blah blah. And I said I knew that was going to be a solid pick. You know, I knew that was going to be a solid pickup. But Isaiah Hartenstein, when the Knicks signed Isaiah Hartenstein, I low key was like, "Yo, we just got to steal." You know,
Mhm.
and it was some Knicks fans like, "Oh, why is he on the team? He's not that good." Blah blah blah. And then he proved his worth. Yeah, he's a very solid. Just he's an all around. He's an all around center. He's not a star. He's not the best athlete in the world. He's not the worst athlete in the world. But that guy added exactly what OKC needs, and they are a serious contender out there in the West.
I agree. If you watch my live stream on my other channel, I said Hartenstein was the move, one of the best moves of the year for any team. I think he adds exactly what they need. He takes some of the pressure off of Chet, so Chet can kind of do his thing, and they have a big that can rebound and just has that toughness that's always needed. But I think this matchup symbolizes, and we can look at the last two champions. We can look at Denver. We can look at Boston. These are teams doing basketball the right way. They're not going out trying to find, the biggest star. They're not, they're not trying to create a super team by just picking out guys. They're working through the draft. Most of those guys are drafted, or they weren't, they had a team where they had two stars and one of them had to go. So, that's in Shay's case. But, they're doing it the right way. So, like King Speech said, and like both you guys said, this should be marquee matchups, and this should be heavily talked about on ESPN, on podcasts, everywhere. We should be heralding these teams and not, I see a lot of content about, the Mavs beating the Lakers and stuff like that. Who cares? We got two of the best teams in the league playing tonight, and you're worried about LeBron losing by 20. So we have our interest in the wrong areas. But I think tonight, if this is a good game tonight, and I think it will be, I think this will help the NBA, who's losing, of course, its interest. People aren't watching it. They don't have a draw right now. So this is what they should be doing. They should be highlighting these teams and really pushing the NBA to a younger audience, and to these teams that have young cores and are actually playing the game the right way. So yeah, so I think I think it's going to be a really good matchup. Now we're going to go to our predictions. Who do you think wins tonight? Can Cleveland get it done with the offense? Can the Thunder play some good defense and really stop them? What you got, King Speak? Excuse me.
I got OKC winning. They're pretty hot. They're pretty hot. They got guys to match you up. They got guys to muck you up. They put pressure on your guards. They're gonna, it's gonna be a good battle down low because Cleveland do have a great front court especially with the Twin Towers down there, Mobley and Allen. But I think one of their deciding factors is they are always able to put pressure on you, especially in them fourth quarters. I saw that with my Knicks blowing the 12-point lead. I think it was a 14 at the most. We had that in the second half, and that their guards. And again, they got a lot of no names like Lou Dort and the way. I mean, it's funny because I really need to watch this to learn these guys' names. Like I know the stars, and then it's like, but all I know is they have a lot of great defenders. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of great individual defenders, and they put a lot of pressure on you. So I got OKC.
Okay. Big Nige, who you got tonight?
My heart is telling me OKC. They've been the hottest team. They took down the Celtics in great fashion. If you guys didn't watch that game,
yeah, I saw that.
Jaylen Brown, they shut him down in the second half. Like, I watched this firsthand. I'm like, dang. But to me, I think the home team, I think for Cleveland, I think home court matters for them. And in a matchup like this, everybody's watching. They've shown they can compete with the high level teams. They've beaten Boston, in their home floor. So like all these things, and with the momentum, I know everybody's going to be talking about the Thunder. we can't forget about the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they're doing this season. And, obviously Donovan Mitchell has been playing great, Garland, everybody else, but that guy Ty Jerome off the bench, man, this is a game low key like made for him. And I'm not saying he's going to be like the it factor, but it's I think it's really going to come down to the depth tonight. And since role players play better at home than on the road, I think you'll get good performances from Shea. You'll get a probably nice double from Hartenstein. J Dub probably can get you a 20 piece. But I think those role players, the Lou Dorts, the Wiggs, what's his name, Isaiah Joe, I think those guys will still contribute for the Thunder, but I don't think it'll be as impactful as the Ty Jeromes, Karis LeVerts, the Gorgie Nang. I still got to work on pronouncing some of their names too, but you get in all of them. So I got the Cavs winning, and I'm gonna say it's definitely under 10 points. It's not gonna be no blood. It'll just be a close home team victory.
Okay, so we're split. So might not like my take, but OKC, they don't play with pressure well. We saw it in the playoffs last year. We saw it in the NBA Cup. They fell under the pressure. Now, this game is hyped for us, but I think it's hyped for them because you're going against the number one team on the other conference, a team that you may be seeing in the playoffs, in the finals. So it's a lot of pressure. They want to prove they're on a 15-game win streak. They want to prove that they are the best team. And so they're going to, I think the pressure might get to Shea because Shea has to be the man. And so far, I hate to say this, but he's reminding me of that Rockets James Harden. He looks great in the regular season, but when there's pressure on him, he completely falls apart. So I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think the number one offense will beat the number one defense. And I think that's going to be I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good, especially the first three quarters, but I think Cleveland will start pulling away. But it's going to be a good clash because you got, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley out there. But they're going to have to battle with Hartenstein out there. And Lou Dort, he'll probably be on Shea for a lot of time. And we'll not Shea. I mean, he's on his team, but he'll be on Donovan Mitchell. And we'll get to see how good Lou Dort's defense is, and Donovan Mitchell hasn't been the super scorer he once was, but he's been hot these last couple of games. They're on a 10-game winning streak. I think it continues tonight, and I think the Thunder fall apart in this game, this clash of the number one teams. But if you're in the chat, what you think? Who you think is going to win, the OKC Thunder or the Cleveland Cavaliers? Who you got? But moving on, I know one person we will not see tonight, and probably not in the near future until they are traded, is Jimmy Butler. Of course, if you're a basketball fan, you've heard the news. The Miami Heat have suspended him for 7 games. They're looking at trade targets for him. If you haven't seen the video my man Big Nige did, you need to, after this is over, you need to go to the page and go check out his trade scenarios. Some really good stuff. Some really interesting trades that could, really make a team and propel them to where they need to go and dump Jimmy Butler's salary off of Miami since they don't see a future in them. So the question we're asking tonight is the Jimmy Butler era in Miami, has it been a failure? So I'm going to let my man Big Nige go. I don't know. I think King's Speech is on the road, so he probably got dropped off from the call, but we'll see if he joins us. But we're going to keep it going. So Big Nige, has the Jimmy Butler era in Miami been a failure?
I think that depends on what expectations you had for Jimmy Butler, going in to what everyone, especially me included, thought was a shock that he joined Miami. We understand the exit. And let's take a little look back at Jimmy Butler's, history. Just he has this notion of kind of forcing his way out of bad situations. You saw the issues with him in Chicago. He had issues with upper management that led to him leaving. I believe it was Minnesota was next.
Soda, yeah.
Is Minnesota next, and then you hear the infamous story about him taking the B squad and whooping on the starters, calling players like Wiggins and Cat soft, and like I should be the direction of the team. You got a bunch of young cats who don't got no heart, and I proved it, And you're gonna not pay me, and that's crazy, right? So then he takes his bag and he goes to Philly, and then they have their woes. Really close to beating that eventual champion Toronto Raptors team. But it just didn't work out that way. And then obviously he leaves them because they'd rather pay Tobias Harris than Jimmy Butler, which will probably go down as one of the worst, I guess, non-paydays of all time, especially how you see how Tobias Harris ended up underperforming later down the road. So then he goes to Miami. Everybody was kind of speculating, why didn't he go maybe to like LA, go to another contender? Why Miami, who was, hanging out of the playoff picture? And in his first season there in 2020, we understand that was the bubble season because he had joined the off season of 2019. And he's, poised for a bubble run that nobody was considering, and he gets there, and obviously that roster was injury ridden, especially making it all the way to the finals. Got to commend him for what he did there. Got to commend him for making it to the finals against the Denver Nuggets, right? But we are synonymous with the Heat and their culture and how they overcome all the odds to beat a team like Boston, beat especially when they're like the underdog. It starts with Jimmy Butler. Like, as great as Miami looks and as well coached as they are, people are starting to say like stuff about how Jimmy Butler is like he's not a winner and all these things, but like they don't get past Boston without him. They don't get past Milwaukee without him going berserk.
Exactly.
Like, and those are two of the top teams in that 4 or 5 year span in the Eastern Conference. They were picked to beat Miami every year, right? It's like Jimmy Butler and the Heat were like that black cat that was just walking around the Eastern Conference. Like, whenever they got matched up with Miami, it's like, oh, wait, like, hold up, like, we're better than them, but they're better coached. They got this guy, Jimmy Butler, who is coasting in the regular season because that's what he does. Give you 18, 17, maybe a little 20 piece here and there, but he's a coaster in the regular season. The postseason, when he's healthy, a whole nother world.
Different story. Yeah.
I mean, like, I want to say, I think it was 2022, 23, where he just went absolutely berserk against the Boston Celtics. Like, I don't think I've ever, like, even when I used to watch LeBron at his peak, watching that peak Jimmy Butler, because that's, in my opinion, his Miami run, I think it was, like I said, 22, 23 that season. I think it was, because he ended up getting hurt prior to the finals in the Nuggets. So, it was the 22, 23 season. That was the best version of Jimmy Butler I've ever seen in my life. Like, up there with performances with the great LeBron James. And everybody knows how I feel about LeBron. Just look behind me if you got any doubts. But that, to me, was the greatest version of Jimmy Butler. He continued to carry that Miami team who, without his offense, especially in those fourth quarters, and other guys stepped up too. I'm not saying it was just solo act, but when you drop in 56 and the next closest score is like 15 to 20, like, come on, what are we really doing?
I mean, that Miami team was playing good that year, though. 2023, they were great, hitting on all cylinders.
And they were also a 7th seed, might I add, that got all the way to the finals. So, and when we talk about Jimmy Butler, you got to put some respect on his name. Yes, the saga is crumbling down before us, and you hate to see it because you would love to see him retire with a team like Miami. But Pat Riley ain't trying to pay him. He's up there in age. He's injury prone. We understand these things, and we understand he doesn't give 110 in the regular season. But to say it was a failure, you must not have watched the playoffs, man. That's all I can really say, because I think given that they were the underdog in every series, the fact that they overperformed, overachieved in all those series, got 2 finals runs. You didn't get the chip, unfortunately. You ran into a prime Nikola Jokic, and you ran into the 2020 Lakers with point guard Bron, on God Anthony Davis, Rondo. Like you just couldn't help it. Plus you were injured in both of those series, so you can't call it a failure in my opinion because they overachieved to the nth degree in my opinion.
How crazy that we somewhat agree. The only entity that failed in this was Miami, because number one, if you think, despite those playoff runs, if you think Jimmy Butler is the number one option on a team and can do that type of thing with a distant option two, then you're crazy to think that's going to be championship basketball or a championship team. That's like, to me, that's the equivalent of trading Jaylen Brown to a team and just building around him and him being the number one option. That's not going to win you championships. So Miami didn't put anything out there or in there for Jimmy Butler to excel. I mean, he did all he could do. He carried them on his back for really 3 really good postseason runs. They got swept in 2021, I believe it was, but really wasn't Jimmy's fault. I can't remember if he got hurt. Something happened, but they got swept in that season. But in 2020 and 2022, he was a monster in 2022. He was a monster in 2023. So, like you said, he coached during the regular season a lot of times, which I guess he kind of learned. He's not load managing necessarily, but he's just not. He ain't giving you 110% Jimmy Butler. But when it counts and matters, he was giving you all he had. And like you said, they were 7th seed one of those seasons, and he took them all the way to the finals. So if anybody's a failure in this, is sadly to say, is Pat Riley and the front office that just couldn't put together. And that 2023 team was good, but it just didn't have that extra. Bam is great. Bam's he's going to be an all-star, quite a bit, but he's not. If that's your number 2 option, then you're not going to go too far. For as good as he is, he's not on the same level as Scottie Pippen. He's not on the same level as Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving. Those guys can win games by themselves if you need them to. But Bam is just, you need him for the defense, you need him for, the rebounding, all those things. But, he just does not have what's needed to actually help Jimmy Butler and that Miami Heat get over the hump. You need one other player, and they just failed to do that. They failed to get another it doesn't have to be a superstar, but another star that can really help Jimmy in the long run. And, that's why they failed. And that's why if I'm Jimmy, I wouldn't even want to resign unless you're trying to be more proactive when it comes to signing, somebody that can really give me the help that I need. So Jimmy Butler is not the failure here. Miami is. But what's up, King Speech? I see you got dropped off for a little while, but we were discussing the Jimmy Butler era in Miami, and was it a failure? Do you think, Jimmy Butler there failed Miami? You there? Oh, he's muted. Let me see. He might
hello?
be on. Let me see. Oh, there you go.
You turning over? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna be drop. I got one more drop to make, and I'm,
Okay.
I'll be, because I might drop off again.
Okay,
but okay, yeah. So the Jimmy Butler era was a good one. It was a pretty good one. I mean, you go to 2 finals. I mean, you can't say that's a failure, even though they won a championship. I mean, both times nobody really expected them to make it.
Exactly.
They were competitive. They Pat Riley got a lot of no-name, undrafted talent to like really make a contribution there. But I think it's run its course, and Jimmy Butler is, I would say at this point in time, again, I don't really know exactly what's going on down there, but I don't think he's no longer good as he thinks he is. I think I will put it that way. And I think Pat Riley kind of made a move to where it's just like, well, okay, it's time to turn the page. We got another young guy
and Tyler Hero that, between Tyler and Bam, we might be able to retool the team around them too and see what we can get for Jimmy Butler. I was asked about it. He's making a lot of money. He got a 49 and a $52 million play option, and I doubt he's going to turn down that play option unless he'll take a 4-year deal from somebody else for less money. But that's a prohibitive contract to trade. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. It's a saga. Listen, as a Knicks fan, I'm kind of happy to see it. Like Miami is a rival, and Miami put us out the playoffs that year. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of he's 35 years old. The writing's on the wall. I mean, the best days are behind him. He's had a great career for a guy who was the 30th pick. Anybody expect him to be, this good, a superstar? I liken him as this era's Sprewell, and he actually had a better overall career than Sprewell. And a lot of guys from my era loved him, Sprewell, man.
Yeah, he was a tough player.
Tough player. Good defender. Good. I think he was a good leader. Everybody could say he was toxic to the young Timberwolves. Nah, he was correct. They needed to toughen up. And I think maybe Wiggins going to Golden State and now Carl-Anthony Towns with New York probably kind of realized that. Jimmy was trying to get the best of us. Forget all that niceness and all this. If you want to win in this league, you got to be some dog. You got to be a bulldog. And, you got to play like it. And I think he saw the talent in those two guys, but they weren't ready to hear that. They weren't ready for that type of leadership. So, but at this point, now you're the guy on the downhill. And I mean, I don't even know what his gripe is. Getting your money, it ain't like they bench you or nothing, How you think Bradley Beal feel? He's coming off the bench. You know what I'm saying? Like that good, but that, you guys were touching on it earlier, right? With the two teams playing tonight. I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. The super team era is officially dead because all these teams that are bringing in these 3 max players and thinking that they're just gonna become instant contenders, shoot up the top of contention, they're not doing it. They're actually all mediocre, 500 and below, or round the 500 mark. So you got to start really generically and building teams, getting young talent in there because you cannot do it with a bunch of 30-somethings. They make 50-something million a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we can see that from the last how many champions from Milwaukee. They weren't a super team. They didn't have, 2 other all-stars with them, Denver, of course, and, Boston they do, but those guys were built through, drafting them and building them up and complementing each other. So, yeah, I think this is showing teams that the draft is important now, especially if it's a good draft, and you got to scout better. You can't just scout, on paper and look at raw stats and things of that nature and just see, oh, this is a superstar, let's bring him over here. No, you got to, you really got to do your homework and have the right coaches and have the right staff to really hone their skills and make them complementary to each other and make a solid team. But super teams do not exist.
Yeah, I want to say this: that the both first and second round picks are really important. And a lot of casual fans don't know it. I'm not sure what kind of audience y'all have over here, but a lot of casual fans don't realize those second round picks. And me being a Knicks fan, seeing it personally. We have about 6, 7 second round, including Jalen Brunson, right? But he wasn't ours. He was Dallas' second round pick. But those second round picks are very important because if you hit on them, you have a lot more control of them. You can pay them less. You can control them for 4 years, and if they're a hit, you have a lot more flexibility. Like those first round picks are all slotted in a certain contract, so you're able to, like Deuce McBride right now. Once we traded quickly and what's the name away, he was like the next young prospect, and he's our 6th man, and he's making about $2 million this year, 3.5 next year. That's huge. People don't understand it. That's huge because now you're able to have the big ticket stars and then fill out your roster with important roster spots with those second-round picks. So second-round picks, undrafted free agents, they're even better than undrafted free agents usually go free after 2. You might be able to sign under 3 or 4 year deals, but those second-round picks are your control for 4 years, and you can develop them. Some of them develop fast, some of them develop slow, but they are worthy. So, like when the Lakers say we could, well, who else would have been the 55th pick? Well, my Knicks got a guy named Ariel Hukporti. And Cleveland might know this because he had a posterized dunk that was called offensive foul, but that kind of swing the momentum of the game. But Ariel Hukporti, if Thibodeau actually did give him every time he gives him playing time, he comes in and does a lot of great things. So, I think a lot of teams, they only know the stars on teams. They don't appreciate role players. And even LeBron himself on the mind that, what did he say? The first season in Cleveland, we failed because we didn't have the right role player. I know Eddie House and them guys took exception to it. But to say we didn't have he was wrong. He was right and wrong at the same time because, yes, your role players are important. He was wrong because his role players were fine. Yes, they needed could they get a Birdman Anderson and a Ray Allen? Of course. But he had good enough role players to beat Dallas in that first year. So that was just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. But your role players are very important if you're trying to win a championship.
I agree. But yeah, I think people use role player as a bad term now. Everybody wants to be the star, but teams that normally win have guys that embrace that role player role and, don't care. They're just out there to do what the training staff and the coaches tell them to, and they excel at it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's missing. I think that's coming back now. You look at a Bobby Portis, he's going to do what, he needs to do to help them win, and he's not going to. I saw that little side, but he should have been on the Olympic team. Team USA should have had Bobby Portis. But anyway, so yeah, Jimmy Butler era, not a failure, but it's coming to an end, unfortunately. But we're going to move on to our last topic of the night, and it's one that has been discussed in the last couple of days, weeks, whatever. Even had FYF Sports talking about Kobe. But if you didn't watch the live stream on that channel, Gilbert Arenas came and debated the content creator Scap Attack, and they had a very long, it was 6 hours, discussion on was Kobe Bryant. I don't even know what the discussion was. Was it? I don't know if it was Kobe against LeBron. I don't know what it was, but it was. Scap was trying to prove that Kobe Bryant wasn't a role player, not a role player, but wasn't a sidekick to Shaq during that three-peat, which many people believe that Shaq was the de facto main person on that team. But Kobe was still on that team, and Kobe's, we're going to talk about it. But, the question is, was Kobe a sidekick? Was it more similar to Magic and Kareem, where they're seen more as a duo than really maybe a 1A, 1B, but it wasn't like a Batman and Robin. They either one was, number one. They were a duo. They were both extremely important, and at any given night, one could be the finals MVP or MVP or whatever. So in your infinite wisdom, Nige, was Kobe Bryant through 2000, 2001, and 2002 a role player for the Los Angeles Lakers?
Okay, I think role player is a bit of a.
Not role player. I keep saying role player, but a sidekick. Yeah.
I don't know where this notion that a sidekick is like a bad term. Like, we got to remember, you're playing with a prime Shaquille O'Neal. Most any player is probably taking a back seat to that level of Shaq because he was just that unstoppable. Now, obviously, Shaq is a center, and it's not like he's Hakeem and Wilt and these other guys. Like, obviously, he has limitations as a basketball player, and the main thing was, the free throw line. So you could foul Shaq late in the ball game, and you could make him look mortal there. You couldn't do that with Kobe Bryant, right? That's why, and I actually had this discussion a few days ago, actually. But quarters 1 through 3, that's Shaq's time to be the diesel. the fourth quarter, it's Kobe time. And I think because I was there a little bit to hear Scap Attack and Gil debate each other, and it's like Scap's one of his biggest points was like, fourth quarter is winning time, and I think he had mentioned like with the points, I know like they're pretty close in the point totals, and I think he led the fourth, or Kobe led the fourth quarter in points and all that stuff. But there's nothing wrong with being a sidekick, like being the second option on a prime Shaquille O'Neal team. I mean, like, it's not like it's a problem. Like, it depends. Like, I think it's because, they use that against Kobe, in his all-time rankings, which, fair point. It's an opinion at the end of the day where you put Kobe all time. But to say he's lesser of a player because he played with prime Shaq, I think that's a bit much. And I know that's kind of where this is coming from, is like, was he a sidekick in this three-peats? Like, obviously, I think Shaq was the best player in those three-peats, right? Those finals MVPs say the word too, but I mean, that's another conversation. But I'm not going to sit here and like minimize the impact that Kobe had. Like, if someone were to tell me that he was just as impactful as Shaq, I might disagree, but it's not like I'm going to like, debate you on it, because he was, if you want to put Shaq all the way at the top, Kobe was probably like right here in terms of like sheer dominance, peak performances.
I'm gonna read you some numbers here in a second. So,
because I'm sure the numbers that CW is probably about to give out probably paint the picture that it's way closer than a lot of people think, and I'm okay with that. But to say that the notion that Kobe is a sidekick and it's a bad thing, I just don't think it's a bad thing, in my opinion. I think that just shows you how great Shaq was and how great Kobe was at that time, at that age, to be right there with a prime Shaq.
Yeah, and before I give my take, just to read off a few stats. Now, 2000, obviously, that was Shaq's team. That was his MVP year. He was just, I'm not even going to read the numbers, but he was, leaps and bounds better than Kobe. It was his team. Now, things get a little different when you go beyond, when you go 2001 and 2002. In 2001, Shaq both guys finished in top 5 in scoring. Shaq had 28.7 points per game, Kobe 28.5 points per game. Both All-Stars. Shaq was first team All-NBA, Kobe second team All-NBA, and both made second All-Defensive teams. So, great. But the numbers, Shaq had 30 points per game, 2.2 assists. Kobe had 29.4 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, and 6.1 assists. Was that, do those numbers scream, sidekick to you?
No.
Well, I mean, you can't really get much closer than that. So 1A, 1B is, kind of what I would suggest in talking about them. And even in 2002, both All-Stars. Kobe was first team All-NBA and second team All-Defensive team and All-Star Game MVP. Shaq was not. So in those playoffs, they won in 2002. Shaq posted 28.5 points per game, 12.6 rebounds, 2.8 assists. Kobe, 26.6 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, and 4.6 assists. Again, I mean, you might have them by a couple of points, but I mean, it was dead close. I mean, both, you could tell. In 2002 was the year that they played Sacramento, wasn't it? Where they played them in the conference finals. I believe so. I think that was 2002. Either way, I know Kobe was a huge factor, and for the reason you said, for the to offset the Hack-a-Shaq, because of course we all believe that was. I believe 2002 was the year that we feel Sacramento was robbed, but I might be mixing that up with 2003, one of them. But either way, it had to be 2002. So Kobe was really just as important as Shaq when it came down to it, especially in those latter two championship runs. So is he a sidekick? I think the only thing that separates them is a Finals MVP. I don't think the stats say Shaq was this, just way better than Kobe. It's just who came out with the trophy at the end. So to me, that's the only thing that separates them. And really, if I'm Scap Attack or if I'm anybody, you can kind of say that, you can't really say it was truly Shaq's team, because Kobe was, if you take Kobe off, they're not making it to the finals and they're not winning a final. So, so that's my 2 cents. What you think about that? Because I know you were on yesterday's debate with Lamont talking about Kobe. You thought his best year was, I believe, 2005. But do you think Kobe during those years, doing that three-peat, was just a sidekick to Shaq?
Now, let me preface this. Because I told Lamont this yesterday, right? I was never a Kobe fan. Kobe was the player I disliked the most. But one thing about me, whether I like you or don't, I'm very objective when it comes to speaking basketball. So one thing that I used to do to Kobe fans is I used to tease them and call them a sidekick for the three-peat. Here's the thing. I was just playing. Like, that's just drunk talk. I mean, like, if you know objectively basketball, you knew that Kobe, especially in winning time, was the man. There's no way that they win. And see, I learned more when Kobe and Shaq actually did that sit down interview. I think a lot of people saw that, but if you go back and watch every word, it was a lot of self-reflection there. It was them finally burying their their years-long beef, almost probably about a decade long by the time they sat down and talked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even longer than that. And they told you, like, listen, bro, we won them shit about even the 0-1 when they won 16-1 in the playoffs. They felt that they won that by the skin of their teeth. They didn't think that they were just gonna go out there and stomp everybody. At no point did they have that that confidence that they were gonna, from the beginning of the season, All-Star break, throughout the playoffs. They had they wasn't that confident that they were just gonna beat everybody. Excuse the noise in the background. I'm gonna try to get somewhere more quiet.
Oh no, you
I'm about a hospital. Actually, my son was born at the same hospital last year, right down the street. But they did not have the confidence that they were just gonna stomp everybody. So the idea that Kobe was a sidekick, I mean, first of all, the numbers, and I don't know how much you want me to get into it about how Lamont was holding court and wouldn't let nobody talk, and anybody that came up with any facts that was going to put him in his place, he put the mute on you. I see what they do over there. I've done it, and I know you said you can't take a Johnny and Lamont together. Well, I cooked them. I cooked them. That wasn't the first, last Friday night. That wasn't the first time. Because, again, what they like to do is they like to frame your argument, and then they like to lock you in to an argument you never made. Then they branch it off into different things. Well, here's the thing. As Scap Attack proved with his numbers, Kobe actually had higher percentage of offense. If you look at points in assists, he had a higher percentage of offense in most of the 0-1. Now, 2000, listen, Kobe was 21 years old that season, right? Yeah, he was 21 in 2000. He was 22 in 2000. And we all know the first 3 rounds, well, really, especially in 2001, I'm gonna give the Sixers a little bit more credit than that. But 2002 for sure, the Nets were the worst team they played in the playoffs. I mean, maybe outside of the first round. But 2001, the hardest series were in the Western Conference playoffs. Remember they swept the Spurs. Kobe averaging 33 and 7 and 6. I mean, what are we talking? Like, see, this is where Gil just lost all his credibility. Everybody knew he got washed there, saying that a guy averaging 29.4 in the playoffs is a sidekick. That is just, those are just not sidekick numbers. Because when you have championship teams who did not get those numbers, did not get those. One thing he did too is he would toggle through, Kobe didn't have the advanced stats here. He had the raw stats, but he didn't have the advanced stats this year. Oh, and then when Kobe had his best stats, the team wasn't very good. So pick an argument, Lamont. Was Was it the team success? Because he wanted to say Dirk was the best player in 07. Dirk didn't get out the first round with a 1 seed. He won the MVP and then get out the first round. As we all know, Matt Barnes and what was the other guy? What was that other? He was getting guarded by 6'5" guys. See, up until then, now that happens all the time. But up until then, if you could never put a 6'5", 6'8", 6'7" guy on a 7-footer unless that 6'8" guy was Dennis Rodman. Okay, so for Matt Barnes to be completely locking down Dirk Nowitzki. So tell me how was Dirk Nowitzki the best player in the world? And see, the more did to me is he caught me by saying, because here's how I judge the best player in the world. It's almost like the heavyweight champion of the world.
Mm.
So you got a.
Oh, you're dropping out.
You got a. You got the ring, had 3 rings. Shaq. Go ahead. No, well, yeah, because the matchup's always favor Shaq, but Kobe was just as important, and we all know this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. What's going on, Casual?
Yeah. Okay, so and then getting into why I believe Kobe was the best in the world, because the first thing I'm going to judge is I'm going to look at the eye test. You would have to be playing like the best player in the world, right? Like the idea that we all know Steve Nash was a great player, very good, very important and we all know why he won the MVP, because he added something to Phoenix. It took them from a mediocre team to a top 1-2 seed team, right? The 2 years he won MVP. Yeah. But at no point would anybody say Steve Nash was the best in the world. And for him to put Steve Nash and Dirk over Kobe when they had, I mean, neither one of them even made it to a finals at that. Well, no, wait, I'm sorry. Dirk did go to the 06 finals, so he deserved a little. But come on, Kobe had 3 rings. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying Dirk and the Dallas 06 got cheated, but.
I mean, well, you could say that. You could say that, but again, I mean, look, you're still not taking away Kobe's 3 rings. Yeah, like to me, Shaq had started declining. Like, right, physically he wasn't the same. He was still a bad man, but physically what he was in 05 and 06, I could see. To me, it was always Shaq number 1, Kobe number 2. From 2001 on through the breakup, they were first and second. Duncan was third. Okay, I don't want like Duncan, but I mean, come on. Clearly, Shaq, in my opinion, Kobe was a better player than Duncan. I know people might disagree. But I mean, to me, just Kobe was just you could deal with Duncan a lot more than you could deal with Kobe. I put it that way.
You could not have. No, you could not have.
03 Duncan.
03 Duncan was great. 03 Duncan's great. You tell me Kobe was that far behind?
That peak, was he that far behind peak Duncan? Yes.
Slightly.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's not
wild.
Again,
I'm no Kobe fan. I'm a Kobe. I was a Kobe hater. And you know what? It was until he got the Colorado case where I was 24 at the time. Me and Kobe the same age. He was born 70, I was born 79. I was a Kobe hater until I saw him get the case, and I was like, no, I don't wish that on nobody. So I never used the word hate. I strongly rooted against him, and I wanted him to, if he was innocent or if he, I wanted justice to prevail, but I didn't want, for a married man with kids. I think he had his first daughter. You didn't want that. So when you say hate. Right when people call me LeBryant, I say first of all I hate no man. I only hate certain criminals and certain individuals, right? So people that actually made the crime. So I didn't hate anybody. I didn't hate Kobe, but I rooted against him. So I mean, listen, I could not. I wanted T-Mac to take the crown from. I wanted a lot of guys to take the crown from him, and I don't dislike Duncan either. I just don't think Duncan is that dominant. I think he's great.
Huh?
Listen, I think he's great.
You gotta, we need that round 3 speech you had in that debate.
Yeah. Okay.
That you proved how Duncan was the best, better than Kobe. Whenever
Yeah,
that drops, please let me know.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
As soon as I drop that video, you'll be the first person I let know because this is crazy.
But
Well,
This is
I'll
crazy.
say this. I'll say this. In their careers, Kobe takes the head-to-head series 4-3, 2-1
No, he
with
doesn't.
Shaq, 2-1 without Shaq. Actually,
No, actually, for their careers, Tim Duncan is over him 43 to 39.
is that regular season matchups? I'm going
That
playoff.
ain't
I'm going playoff
no. That's
series.
that's that's regular season and playoff.
Okay, but you going games and I'm going series. So I think and see, this is the crazy part that Lamar did last night too. He acted like the playoffs weren't more important than the regular season. I thought this was a playoff league, like, because that's what, like, when Kobe triumphed over a guy in the playoffs. Oh, he would go back to regular season stats. See, that's the misdirection thing that's just not right. Again, listen, playoff. I mean, at the very least, Kobe was a top 3 player his entire, from the time he hit 21 to the time he, like, at what point was
No,
Kobe like number 5 or 6?
From the moment he turned 21
He was
to the
5. He was 5th.
he was fifth from the moment he turned 21 till I want to say 03.
ooh, who you got over?
Ooh. So the
Tim Duncan.
2002 playoffs did not make you a believer. Or
No.
2001, I mean.
No, 2001 against the 76ers, he didn't play good. What?
But what about the Spurs? See, we just did the Duncan thing, and he absolutely eviscerated Duncan's
Spurs
team.
lost to the Lakers. Spurs lost to the Lakers, but
And
Tim
what
Duncan
was the
didn't.
average margin? What was the average margin of victory, sir?
What does
Maybe
that
a bad.
matter? What does team success have to do with individual excellence?
So wait, you're gonna tell me it doesn't matter that his team lost by an average of 21 points, yet you had him over
No, it
Kobe?
doesn't. No, it does not matter when the team discrepancy between the two is ultimately different. Tim Duncan didn't have a Shaquille O'Neal on his side. He didn't have the floor spacing that Kobe Bryant had at his disposal. So yes, no, quite literally, no. Him losing by that margin does not move me. No, it doesn't. Not
That's
even a little
wild.
bit.
That's wild. I mean, listen, I could have had a Kobe Duncan debate because I don't necessarily love or dislike either player. I have a lot of respect for both of them. But you're gonna tell me to me when you go, it's like look, you can't do a head to head because it's not a one-on-one game. But if you're that great, nobody on the planet Earth is gonna let their team get blown out by 21 points a game.
But it's not about you letting. Again, you're talking about
Yeah.
something that an individual can control. An individual can't stop Shaq and Kobe from getting off. What you can do is you can focus on your primary assignment that your coach bestows upon you, understand the personnel you have around you, and do what you can to make it as difficult as possible. In 2001, he was not able to achieve that, but I tell you what, he was able to achieve it in 2003.
Oh, 2000, he was able to, so
He
2
was
years
able to.
later, after
He
a
was able.
three-peat.
Hold on. He was able to achieve it in 2003. He was even able to achieve it against the same team that beat your nigga by a record margin. He was able to beat him, but when he went up against Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs, it didn't go that well. He was able to that's what Tim Duncan was able to do. He was able to dominate defensively even
Yeah.
when
Oh
y'all
yeah.
didn't put him in favor of coming out on top. Y'all in 2003, nobody put the San Antonio Spurs as the favorites to come out. That was the Los Angeles Lakers that was favored to come out.
Yeah, but if you're gonna do that, then when you can say that the Los Angeles Lakers as a team was coming apart at the seams as well. The same way you give in 2001, you saying his team wasn't great. Now look, David Robinson in 01 was not prime David Robinson. He wasn't admirable. He wasn't dog. He wasn't dog.
He wasn't even half the player that he
Nah,
once was.
he had fell off. What, 2000?
When was his last All-Star game? I don't have my other phone with me.
What does making an all-star have to do with his value to the team?
Well, I just said he wasn't. If he's an all-star, then he wasn't dog meat. If I say he wasn't dog
Well, he
meat
for sure
and
wasn't.
he
No,
was an
I'll tell you
actual
this right
all-star,
now.
that
I'll
does
tell you
kind of
before I
lend
even research.
credence.
I'll tell you
Say-
before I even do this research, he was not an all-star in 2003.
Okay, all right, all right. Oh, that's why I asked when was his last all. I know he made at least 1 or 2 with Duncan. I think he made 3.
He might have made it in '99. Maybe. He might have made it
I
in
don't even think they had an
'99.
All-Star game in '99. It was a shortened season, so you have to go 2000
Yeah, he
and
made an
2000.
All-Star in 2000, the
Oh yeah,
2000 season,
2000 season.
and
Okay.
2001. He was an
So
All-Star,
so
So he
2000
was an All-Star in
2001.
2001.
yeah.
Okay.
So that
He
supports
wasn't.
my statement that he wasn't dog meat. You
Was
understand?
he
Like
was he
I
was he
completely
Shaquille
listen.
O'Neal?
Number one,
Well, he averaged 14
one
points a game.
it was 14 points a game. But here's the thing: it was on a lot less minutes because Popovich kind of nursed that back through the season. But if you go and look at Duncan's advanced stats in those seasons, I mean, like the rebounding percentage, block percentage, stuff like that. Robinson was still elite. He's not getting the raw numbers because he wasn't playing as many minutes. So he was being nursed through this. So, like, all I'm saying is he wasn't dog meat. So
He wasn't. Wait, but we're talking about 2003. We're not talking about 2001.
Oh,
no, I was talking about
2003,
2001 because
yeah.
that's the
2003 he was,
season where
No,
Kobe
but
went
in two, no,
33
but
and they
in
won by 20 some points
yeah,
a
but
he
game.
was
in
done.
2000, yeah,
Yeah, he was done in
even
2003.
but even in 2001, yeah, he was done by 2003, and by the time we get to 2001, even if he made an All-Star, is David Robinson Shaquille O'Neal?
He's not Shaquille O'Neal, but see, this is the problem. This is the problem. We want to do this one tit for tat thing. We want to do this tit for tat thing because one thing I don't do, it's not a 2-on-2 game, it's not a 3-on-3 game, it's a team game. And all I'm saying is, look, we all know that the Lakers were clearly better.
Okay, so then why are you doing this dance
But you
around?
know why? Because Kobe Bryant being, if he was the sidekick, right? Look at the showrunner. If he was the sidekick, him being that good as a sidekick is the reason why they were better. You understand what I'm saying?
And he gets credit for that. He
Yeah.
was a phenomenal. He was
But
a
we
phenomenal
talking
second
about
option.
22 points a game better.
Okay,
How many games did the San Antonio win that year?
and that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. But that's not. I think they won like 50 something games. But
But in
that's
03,
neither. Yeah, in 2001. Yeah,
2001.
but
2001,
After they won 59 games.
but you keep harping on 2001. You said it yourself. He was a second option, and he was a phenomenal second option. That's
No.
why they
I
were
never
able
said
to.
he's a second option because I don't believe
Oh,
he's a sidekick. I don't believe the second option is again. If he's the like Scap's argument said, if he's the guy you're going down in crunch time, then how is he the second
I get
option?
coffee.
Because you're just looking at points per game, and that's not fair. When Kobe in 2 of the 4 series, including that San Antonio series, was the first option. Shaq averaged 27 in the San Antonio series. Kobe averaged 33.
they couldn't play him in the fourth. Could they play him in the fourth?
Oh, Shaq could play. He would be more of a decoy. And see, this is what I'm saying. It's like you're cutting it. Listen, these were the best. To me, again, my opinion. If you got Duncan in here before Kobe, I'm not like Gil would say. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to kill you. Kobe got to at least be 3. But no, you don't even have Kobe 3rd. That's wild. 22.
I am
wait a minute.
interested to hear who the other 2 are.
Oh, Shaq Duncan, and then Kevin Garnett.
See, and I want it. See, again, look, you got to understand at this point in time, I'm not a Kobe fan. So I want a guy like Kevin Garnett to take Kobe out. I want a guy like T-Mac to go and surpass Kobe. I rooted for this. These guys didn't win a playoff series. You see how can you put the guy that didn't even get out the first round ahead of the guy that won a championship, whether he was a sidekick or not? Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
Garnett's numbers were crazy.
Listen, Garnett's numbers were great, and I understand. Look, David Stern absolutely screwed. Remember, do y'all remember what happened in 2000 when Joe Smith re-signed that? What he did was he signed a sweetheart deal with Kevin McHale to come back 1 year, and Kevin McHale was stupid enough to put it in writing that we're going to give you a deal. So they were circumventing salary cap rules. And so what David Stern did was where he basically made the Wolves forfeit 6 first-round picks. Come on. Come on, because crazy. As many players have done that, and as many teams have done that, and they always do it with the handshake wink deal. Kevin McHale was stupid enough to put it in writing, and that's what. But 6 first-round picks? That's like they didn't have a first-round pick until 2005 or 2006, I believe. So that hindered the Wolves. But again, you didn't get out the first round. And again, it wasn't like his team. Again, Kevin Garnett didn't have
You
dog shit
asked the
around him
question
either.
on how do you asked the question on how do you know or how can you be better than somebody when you didn't make out of the first round? Easy. You start valuing just team success and circumstance over just individual excellence. Like Kevin Garnett didn't make it out of the first round. The only time he made it to the Western Conference Final was in 2004. But we all understood his excellence when it came to the defensive end, when it came to him as a facilitator, when it came to him as a rebounder. Like we understood all of those things. So like
I disagree with none of that.
you
Brother,
don't
I
have
disagree with
you
none of
don't
that.
you don't have to look at he didn't make it out of the first round. He didn't make it out of the first round because his team was not good enough. But he was routinely in the playoffs. He was routinely and a large part of that, especially for some of those years that they were giving him shitty ass cash, was because of his individual excellence, specifically on the defensive end. That's what put him over the top.
Agreed. But then you compare him to Kobe Bean Bryant. You see what I'm saying? Like you compare him to Kobe Bean Bryant, who now let's go back to let me look at Kevin Garnett. And I'm sure Kevin Garnett kicked ass in the first round. I'm sure he kicked ass and just lost to a better team, right? But then you go to Kobe Bean Bryant, who then goes ham on the San Antonio Spurs. 33, 7-6. Now you could say he got the opportunity to do so, right? Fair enough. I mean, I see again. I wish I had my second phone because I could look through things. I mean, if I sit there and Google stuff right now, I'm gonna be knocked out off stream. But who did Minnesota play in that first round? And I want to also see, did he ever play Duncan in the Spurs in the first round? I mean, in any other series?
In Minnesota?
Wait, what? You saying in 2001?
2001, yeah, 2001. Who did they play? Did they play Sacramento? Maybe I can't remember offhand.
Let me check.
I can't.
I'll check.
I'm looking right now. Who they played in 2001? Let me see.
Kevin Garnett in 2001 played.
They lost 2001. They lost
San Antonio.
to the
They actually
Spurs.
lost to San Antonio.
Yeah. Okay, so they played the same team, right? Now, what was and look, he's matching up personally with Duncan, right? What was his numbers? I'm sure they were good.
21-12 and 4, 1 steal, 2 blocks.
Good numbers. Good numbers.
Yeah.
Good numbers. All right, and I'll be fair, right? Obviously, it was the combination of Antonio Daniels, Derek Anderson, and was Bruce even with them in 01? I don't think Bruce was with them yet.
Bruce
the starting lineup for them was Terrell Brandon, Anthony Pillar, Wally Zodiac,
not dog
shit. Kevin Garnett, and
Malik Sealy had passed the year before that. RIP.
LaFonso Ellis.
He had a nice set of veterans. Terrell Brandon was a vet at that point. Solid point guard. Now again, and how many games? I mean, was it 4-2 or 4-3?
3-1. That was
3-1.
3-1.
All right, 3-1. Yeah, this is back when they still were doing best of 5.
Yeah.
Right. So again, my thing is Kobe against the same team. The 33-7-6 tops the 21-12 and 4. And again, I trust me, I was rooting. I wanted Kevin Garnett to take it. I wanted him to take the crown. The first high school player drafted in the 90s era. I'm a big Garnett fan, but can I objectively give it to him over Kobe if Kobe is putting up MVP? Like if they had an MVP, what's the Western Conference MVP? If they had an MVP,
like this, I wish niggas had. I wish there was like a whole bunch of Shaq just lying around so that the playing field could these conversations could actually be genuine. Because like, bro, like I swear, like niggas be acting like Kobe had so hard of a job being guarded by.
See, this is Kobe. Are you a Kobe hater?
No, I'm.
Are you a Kobe hater?
I just went on the FYF stream that you talking about. I was the one
Okay.
that went on there literally talking about how he was being unfair to Kobe. So like I'm not a fan nor am I a hater of Kobe Bryant.
Okay,
It's
I
just
got
like
you.
fair is
And I feel
fair.
it's look, I try to take it objective. You're talking about a guy I vehemently rooted for. I I wanted Kobe to go 7 for 40. Okay. I wanted him to have the worst game possible. But he didn't. He did that was his coming out party at 22 years old. And look, Kevin Garnett was 23 years old, right? Again, I wanted these guys to succeed and knock Kobe off that perch. But could you do it? I mean, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I think what he's saying is, I'm pretty sure that Kevin Garnett didn't have the same team Kobe Bryant did. So,
but you can all, but I know, and I get that.
yeah.
But he could also have, like, maybe they needed him to go 33 and 10, and maybe it goes down to a fifth game. You understand what I'm saying? Look, I mean, maybe they needed him to go 33 and 15. He went 21 and 12, and look, that's a tough matchup. Duncan is
He didn't have Shaq there to.
Let me tell you something. I got Kevin Garnett ahead of Duncan in my all-time list.
Oh no,
That's crazy.
See,
Oh.
look, because I'm going to go who I think is the best. I always thought Garnett was a better player. I always thought he was a better player.
Okay,
He
so
didn't
yeah,
have
now
to. Look,
you
you got one guy that was drafted to
being
Greg
inconsistent.
Popovich, and you got a guy who got Doc 6 first-round picks. I mean, if you want to be fair, if you want to say be fair and judge his team, well, Kevin Garnett's
That
team
ain't
was.
being in that, but that's not being fair either. Now you just doing stuff at this point. I don't even know what that is. What
I mean, listen, a lot of guys. Look,
up to now,
probably about 30% of the guys. You put up a poll, 30. Garnett is not going to get. It's not going to be 90 or 90 10. It's not going to be 90 10.
Garnett,
See, I just
talking about Garnett versus Duncan.
Versus Duncan. It'll probably be about 30 70.
But up to now, everything that you've been pointing towards has been you valuing the success that they've had statistically while winning championships. So I'm sorry, Kevin Garnett
And that
has
matters.
more time.
To me, that matters.
Okay, and Duncan checks all those boxes off, especially over Kevin Garnett.
Okay. Here's what I'm saying. 2007, 2013, those two championships. Duncan won the best player on either.
What is
2015, he was probably the best defender, or one of them.
He was a great defender. I give him that. He wasn't the best player.
He was the best player. He was the best player. No. He was the
best
player.
Parker was more valuable, had better playoff stats in 07, and in 14, we all know Kawhi was a combination of Kawhi and Parker.
You're talking about the finals. He was not the best player.
No, I'm doing the whole playoffs.
No, not even in the whole playoffs, because Tim Duncan jumped up from 20 points to 22 points. I think it was like 10 rebounds to 12 rebounds, while being the primary facilitator for them, even with Tony Parker being on the court all the way up into the finals.
Is he the primary facilitator with Manu and Parker there? I mean,
Manu was the scorer of the team.
Look, I mean, look. I understand Duncan was never about stats, and Duncan played team basketball. He was the most coachable, all-time great. See, I can give the superlatives where it matters. He was the most coachable, unassuming, all-time great that ever played. He was one of the best. I mean, to me, honestly, when he retired, he was the last of the Mohicans, the last of the true big men, back to the basket big men who played their role, who was always able to count. I could give the superlatives for Duncan.
Bro, quite literally, the only thing that this nigga Tony Parker did better than Tim Duncan was pass the basket, was assists. That was the only thing he did better than Tim.
2000. Go to the 2000. See, I don't want to. I know you just looking at numbers too, and the fact is, Tony Parker was the you know that Duncan shot 44% in the 07 finals, while Parker shot about 48 or 49 or something like that.
And you know what Tony Parker did?
When you're a guard,
Tony Parker did what Kobe Bryant did. He took advantage of the dominant big that was on his team.
And let me tell you something. Okay, good point. If that was actually true, what Gilbert said in his debate with Scap is that the double teams that Shaq drew led to Kobe getting those numbers, which is absolutely nonsense.
Why are you bringing up Gil's talking points to me?
Well, because it's similar. Because you're saying that him drawing double teams allowed Park. No, listen, both of those guys were the engines, right? Look, at that point, Manu off the bench was the sixth man, and Parker
All right.
and what's the name were the engines. One in the front court, one in the back court. Listen, I'm not a big Parker fan either, but I give respect. They were the engines that drove them offensively.
Engine. He wasn't no damn engine.
Parker wasn't an engine for the San Antonio Spurs.
Parker was a beneficiary. That's what he was. He was not an engine.
Wow, that's wow.
Well, I hate
Tony
to
Parker
start the conversation, but I have to get ready to go pick up my son. So if Big Nige wants to continue it, I gotta drop off.
It's getting good. It's getting good. Oh, so the live is ending.
Oh, if Big Nige can handle the rest, I just gotta go.
All right. Yeah. Listen, I had to drop off a couple of times myself, but this is a good one. But I mean, look.
But I appreciate you coming on. I got to go,
thank you, bro.
Thank you all for coming on. So I'll be back later.
All right, no problem. But this is a good one because I think my thing is, I think we got to consistently, if you're going to judge the best player, you got to kind of be consistent. And I look, there's a lot of things I look at. The first thing I do is the eye test, right? Because I don't care what a guy's reputation is. If he's averaging 17 points a game, you can't put him up. And I understand he might have a different role, but you can't put him up against a guy that averages 29, right? So all the things you said about Duncan and Garnett, right? And at 01, well, Kobe was all of that as well.
I ain't gonna lie
and the fact is, fortunately for Kobe, he had the 33-point per game Western Conference Finals performance.
This is the conclusion I've come to when it comes to like Duncan and KG. Man, half of y'all old heads that be talking about how like y'all value two-way value and y'all like defense and y'all miss defense. Man, y'all ain't ready to double down on that. Because if anybody actually truly understands the value of defense, bro, Tim Duncan unequivocally is like above Kobe Bryant, because the value that you love to give Kobe Bryant for his scoring numbers, Tim Duncan gave that tenfold when it comes to defense. We're talking about one of the greatest, if not the greatest defender we ever seen, especially given his longevity, being able to, even once his scoring numbers go down, still be able to lead his team to 50 plus wins on a consistent basis just because of his defense primarily. Because some of those years that Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili was supposed to take over the totem pole when it comes to offense, they were not that good of an offensive unit. But you know why they still were able to be a above average team? It was because of the defense, and specifically the defensive anchor that Tim Duncan was. In 2013, when they won the championship, even if you want to say that Tony Parker was the better offensive player, or Manu or Kawhi even in 2014, it's none question that Tim Duncan was the best defender on that team because of what he provided defensively. The problem that I be having with some of y'all is y'all talk about Tim Duncan like he was held to the same standard that Kobe or Kevin Garnett or even his teammate David Robinson was. No, Tim Duncan was held to a standard of having to lead a franchise to the promised land as soon as he got drafted. And guess what? He did that. And then they asked him when David Robinson was on his last leg, Tony Parker was a rookie, and Manu Ginobili was a second-year player, to lead them to a championship again. And he did that. Then they asked him to beat the team that was just historic of a defense as he was, that beat the Los Angeles Lakers the year before, and he did that. Like every time they asked him to do something, he did it and he delivered. And even when people doubted them on even being a fierce competitor to the Miami Heat for 2 years straight, they not only beat them eventually, they beat them in historic fashion. That's Tim Duncan for you. That's what Tim Duncan does.
Okay, can I hit my rebuttal? All right. So I agree with almost everything you said, bro. Everything you said. Here's the problem. When you said he did that, correction, they did that. They did that. The San Antonio Spurs did that. And I agree. He was a defensive anchor. I mean, he's 39, making all defensive first teams, right? This is, when I get at LeBron fans, I'm like, well, if Duncan can make an all NBA first team defense at 39, why can't LeBron make one in his 30s? I mean, like, he has not made one since he was 29. Again, when you say Tim Duncan was the anchor on defense, you talk like Kobe Bryant was dog shit on defense. Kobe Bryant is one of the most amazing, especially at 21, 22, 23, one of the most amazing perimeter defenders we ever seen. Some might even say better than Mike. I'm a get, look, I think they were equal. I think they were equal, especially in those years when Kobe was a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. I mean, who was threatening him up? I'm just saying, like, it's like when you can give me the superlatives on one, and then I can come back with the superlatives on other. Now, look, they did that. The Lakers, they three-peated. All right? The Lakers three-peated. I mean, Duncan never repeated. And Duncan had a good to very good to great supporting cast his entire career.
That was dominant for that stretch.
Look, I'm going to tell you something right now, too, about Robinson from 97, 98, 99, I think 2001. After 01, the last two seasons, Robinson was probably done. The first four, and I go by the advanced numbers, just the rebounding percentage, because I noticed something in the overall numbers.
You're making the same mistake that Lamont did. You making the same.
No, I'm not doing Lamont. Joe, don't put me and Lamont in the same sentence, bro. Look, I looked at the overall numbers, but I noticed that his minutes were going down. So I noted his back was on its last legs. His legs were starting to fall out.
He was playing 30 in 2001. He was playing 30 minutes a game.
30 minutes a game.
The year before that, it was 32. Ain't no difference, bro.
You realize in his prime when he was MVP Robinson, he was playing 39, damn near 40, 36, 37, 38.
We're not talking about prime David Robinson.
Okay, I get that, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to properly judge the fall off, because what I do is, by knowing that the minutes went down, I know the overall numbers going down. Again, he's an all-star 4 years with Duncan. 3 out of 4. No, 3. And if 99 would have had an all-star, he would have been an all-star game. He would have been an all-star in 99. So 4 years, Duncan had an all-star in David Robinson as a center. Now, here's another thing, right? Everybody that knows David Robinson and seen David Robinson and met David Robinson knows that this is one of the most humble players of all time. Do you know that this man actually got on TV and said, man, I used to wear Tim Duncan out in practices one-on-one like he couldn't guard me? And see, look, I know it's just practice, right? I get it. But, like, physically, if you go peak for peak, the best Robinson was better than Tim Duncan. And the numbers support it. Not only do the advanced numbers, not only do the raw numbers show it, the advanced numbers as well.
And you're chatting.
Say again?
You're chatting.
I'm chatting. No, I'm trying to tell you is that, see, right now you have crapped on Duncan's supporting cast as if he didn't have a Shaq. Does that mean he didn't have a great team around him? They win in 60-something games for a reason. They can't do it with just Duncan.
He had a good supporting cast, but you mentioned him not three-peating like the Lakers. He didn't have a cast that was as dominant compared to the field. Like, even as some of the teams started to get better, it was just noticeably worse than the Los Angeles Lakers. Why? Because you had 2 MVP caliber players with eminent floor spacing and a phenomenal coaching staff.
Okay, so what happened? Let me ask you, what happens when Shaq and Kobe break up? Why didn't they three-peat then? Or repeat?
Because everybody else was still at the same level. The Spurs were still at the same level as everybody else. The San Antonio Spurs was at the same level. The Phoenix Suns were at the same level as the Dirk Nowitzki Dallas Mavericks was at the same level as the Miami Heat. Everybody was at the same level.
Cool. But see, now look at this. Now look at who I'm going to hit you back with.
Okay.
Let me hit you back. Because when Kobe got a Gasol, they took 3 straight Western Conferences. Something Duncan never did. Duncan never took. No, he did take 2 straight. No, he never took. Did he take? Oh, yeah, he did. He didn't take 2. Matter of fact, they didn't take 2 straight Western Conferences until 13 and 14.
12, 13, 14.
So if Kobe could take 3 with just Gasol, and again, I'm not going to shit on the rest of the Lakers like people do. The Lakers did have a good great. Now, I will shit on Andrew Bynum because people were like, oh, he had Andrew Bynum. And when you go and look, Andrew Bynum was 8 and 6, and I mean, he had some of the worst numbers. You see, Andrew Bynum was hella talented, right? Hella talented. but Andrew Bynum might have been one of the most lazy players I've ever seen in the NBA. Him, Eddie Curry,
during that
a
stretch in
lot of them
time,
high school guys were just lazy. They never got the work ethic.
during that stretch in time, who in the Western Conference outside of the Los Angeles Lakers were compared to the Dallas Mavericks, the Sacramento Kings, or the Los Angeles? Well, not even the Lakers. Forget the Lakers. Or even the Portland Trailblazers of the 2000s. Who did the Western Conference provide that was of that caliber in 2008?
I'm trying to understand your question, because my point is, if when you gave Kobe an adequate team, they took. Go ahead. Because my thing is, they took 4 Western Conference and went in 5 years, and then they took 3 straight again. And I say my point is, they did that because Kobe was Kobe. Now, if Duncan was as great as you said he was, shouldn't they have taken 2 straight Western Conferences at any time?
Not if the team that you're going up against is as equal and well developed as the team that you have.
So Dallas in 06, they couldn't get past Dallas, and I'm not sure what kind of injury situation, but they weren't as good as Dallas in 06.
No, they were on the same level. It was nip and tuck.
So, but
game went
then
6
Dirk
games.
Nowitzki, because my thing is, I think if Kobe had a Gasol at that point, you might be looking at 3 or 4 straight at that point. I'm just I get look.
But
You
that's
know what? No.
that's a
This is my thing.
That is hypothetical, though.
When you look at the top, I think it was like look at right now this year. Who would be your top 5 players this year?
Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic. And then that fifth spot would probably be between Anthony Davis or Jason Tatum.
Okay. Do you realize when you start to rank them now, you're kind of, you understand? Like you're peeling the potato. Like you got to start nitpicking to put one ahead of the other. You're talking about 5 guys who are really, really great, right? You're talking about 5 guys who are elite players. So now, for us to rank the number, right now on the MVP ladder, I got SGA, and I would put SGA number 2 or number 3 right now, right? I think SGA is playing the best basketball in the world right now, with Jokic right there. But because what I see SGA doing and closing out these games, and why they got this streak going on, this is why I put SGA. This is why I've elevated SGA, just based on what I'm seeing right now. And Nikola Jokic is my 2nd favorite player in the league. You know who my favorite player in the league? Giannis Antetokounmpo. You know who's my 3rd favorite player in the league? Nikola Jokic's teammate, Russell Westbrook. So, like, I got SGA, who basically took over OKC from Westbrook and took him to high stick. Him, Garnett, him, KD, and Harden right now never took him, like, as far as regular season dominance. So what I'm saying is, like, it's not
what
that
are you
I'm
saying this for?
It's not, but it's not when we talk about best 5 back in 2001. It's not like one guy is like head and shoulders above the other. You get what I'm saying? So you got to kind of find a tiebreaker. Go ahead.
How did we get back to 2001?
Well, we talking about the showrunner says was Kobe a sidekick, Kobe Bryant a sidekick during the 3-piece season.
No. I'm saying, like, you and I we talked about their careers, and then we end up back at 2001.
Well, yeah, we back in 2001 because we coming back to the original point. Like, was Kobe the sidekick, right? And we got off into a tangent that I think in 2001, I thought he was the 2nd best player. I thought Duncan was the 3rd best player. Now, you thinking Duncan, leapfrogs Kobe and goes in between Shaq and Kobe. Well, that's, again, it's not like Kobe. As a matter of fact, you say Kobe was 5th, right? Or not even top 5.
I didn't say 5th. I said he was. I said he wasn't top 3.
I think it's wild because, again, the most important series, the biggest series of that playoffs, that Kobe was the best player in a series that they absolutely dominated Duncan's team. And then your argument now is, well, Duncan didn't have all. See, my thing is, if Duncan was the 2nd best player,
That's not my argument.
Okay,
Our
but you
argument,
made
our
the
argument.
argument.
No, I did not. We were talking about the totality of their careers and the success that they had, and that's when the value of their impact, along with the quality of teammates that they had, came into play. But that's not the crux of my argument. If we're talking about just 2001, I think just flat out, I think Tim Duncan was in the middle of approaching his peak defensively. And
Okay,
I'm sorry, his peak defensively is better than not even a peak Kobe Bryant offensively. That's
but you
quite
got to
literally the
remember what
only
Kobe
that's
was
the
on
only
defense
argument
was
that I
not
need
a.
to make. His defense is nowhere near Tim Duncan's. I didn't know that
I'm
I
not.
needed
You
to
know
say
what?
that.
Because big men are always going to have the higher value on defense. That's why, if you know, like go back and look at the defensive players of the years, list them. About 70 to 80% of them are centers, right? So
hmm
I guess we understand that, but then it's like saying that perimeter defense is not. And so when you're going to use
It's
defense
not
as
saying, I
a
promise you, it's not saying that perimeter defense is not valuable at all, but compared to rim protection, especially when you're all-time level high defensively, it's not nearly as
great,
valuable.
great, great. Now look. Okay, so if I say this, then, well, Tim Duncan has one defensive player of the year, and Ben Wallace has four. Does that mean Ben Wallace was that better of a defender?
Defensive player of the year is not an accurate depiction of how good someone is
Okay.
defensively.
But but you're talking about defensive value, and we all know that defensive player of the year is the defensive MVP, right?
It is not. It quite literally is a media award that's given to
They're
players
all media
that are
awards, brother.
that
They're all
is
media
giving
awards.
exactly, and that's why awards don't matter. But
Okay, so we can take
that this
awards out
is
of it, and see,
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
we
you
can
do
do that.
that, right? Now
Yeah, we can do that.
let's just do it player for player. Again, see, we come back to in 01, because I think this is where we started to disagree. In 01, I have Kobe as the second best player in the world at 22 years old.
And I
And I
disagree.
have it for the reasons that I give, right? Where was he first team All NBA? He might have been second team All NBA. Okay, let's take awards out of it. Sorry about that. But he was dominant in the regular season, one of the top 5 scorers, right? He was dominant in the playoffs, 29.4 points, 29 point some points a game for the entire playoffs. He was absolutely otherworldly in the San Antonio Spurs series. So when you got a chance to see two guys on the same court head to head, and one guy's that much more dominant in that, you can tell me about Duncan's defense. Well, again, Duncan's defense wasn't good enough to close the 22-point gap.
That has nothing to do with Tim Duncan, though.
Wait. If you're on the
If
court
my
and you get
primary,
swept by a margin of 22 points a game, it has
assignment,
everything to do with the star player.
if my
It's just,
primary assignment, it does not have
I'm not
everything to do with
saying
the
that
star
Duncan
player.
was so bad that the Spurs got
If
swept by
my I
22,
know
but
who said, why are you at, or you're drop putting words in my mouth? I haven't even
okay.
said anything about that. What I'm saying is, if your primary defensive assignment is to guard Shaquille O'Neal, I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned at expecting Tim Duncan to also have to cover Kobe Bryant when he's slashing to the rim.
No, you can't
It's
cover
not.
Kobe Bryant.
I'm not expecting him to have to do both jobs. He
No, you're
had
not
to
going to do
call.
both jobs, right?
He had to cover Shaquille O'Neal, and he did that. That's why Kobe had as excellent of a series as he did.
Because he wasn't able to help out on
Because
him,
he was
right? Is
not.
that
Because he was not. Because he was. That was not his defensive assignment.
okay? Then let me ask you this: why does Kobe beat Duncan in playoff series twice without Shaq?
Because by the time Kobe Bryant meets Tim Duncan is not the defender that he was in prior
Oh, because he
years.
fell off. Okay, all right. See, again,
He did not.
it's
He fell
really
off. See now who's being extreme. Look. See now who's being extreme. But then if I mention that the year that Kobe Bryant tears his Achilles, Tim Duncan is able to lead his team to the finals in back-to-back years.
mhm.
And now people don't want to. That now that's me being nasty. But to say that Tim Duncan fell off, who's being extreme now? He didn't fall off. It was just he wasn't the
No,
elite defender that he once was
technically
to
you
compete
can't.
with
You might
Kobe.
say he didn't lead the team because he wasn't the leader. He wasn't the on
He
court
was the
leader of
leader.
the team, right?
He was the leader by every
All
metric of
right.
the word. By every mention of the word, he was the leader of that team.
Why
He was
was
the
he
best
taken
player of
out?
that
Why
team.
was he taken out on 2 defensive plays by one of the greatest coaches in the world in the last 2 plays of the game 6 of the
That
regulation?
has zero to do with Tim Duncan. That has more to do
It
with Greg
does have
Popovich.
because at
It
that
has
point they
nothing to do
believed
with
that he
him.
had physically slowed down.
It has nothing to do with him. That actually, a lot of analysts that were watching that exact game, even Greg Popovich, said that that was a mistake on his hand,
It was the dumbest thing you've ever done. I agree.
especially given the fact that Tim Duncan was their best rebounder during that entire series.
I completely agree. But it was a concern that he was
He
no
had
longer as
17. He had
fleet-footed,
17
couldn't
rebounds.
cover the perimeter.
He had 17 rebounds. He had seven.
Popovich
That
believed
wasn't
he
why he
couldn't
sat
cover
down.
Chris Bosh,
That
and which is
wasn't why
why
he
he
sat
sat him
down.
down.
That wasn't why he sat down, because during that entire game, he was doing a job. He was doing a fantastic job. Actually, that game, he had 30 and 17 while guarding Chris Bosh.
He had 30. I don't think he had 30-17 that game.
He had 30 and 17. I'm looking at it right now. He had 30 and
Oh, did he?
17
Well,
while
again,
guarding Chris Bosh. And Chris Bosh only
how
had
do you
10
take a
points.
30-17 guy out?
And
I don't remember him having
that's
that
it.
number because if he did,
I'm
I
telling
thought they would have won.
I'm telling you what happened. He had 30 and 17. And Chris Bosh had 10 and 11. You want to know the
Well, we
difference
all know
maker?
that Chris
Mario
Bosh was
Chalmers had
made to a
20.
decoy.
Mario Chalmers had 20, and LeBron had 32, 10, and 11. That's what happened.
Okay, but we all know that Chris Bosh was used as a decoy, like he wasn't getting the ball regularly. So on that particular play, I believe it was thought that Bosh, they needed somebody fleet of foot to both keep LeBron out from driving the paint and cover Bosh in case like he would kick it out. So I mean, look,
Chris
you
Bosh didn't
know,
even take, and you know what's crazy? Chris Bosh didn't even take a three.
well, I know he didn't. LeBron took it, missed it. Bosh got the rebound, kicked it out to Ray Allen, and we know the rest is history.
Tim Duncan wasn't there for that play. He didn't take a three that entire
Again,
game.
I agree with you. He should have been in. But all I'm saying is it was a fallout.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was a fall up on the coach. It was not a fall up on Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan did everything in his power
I
at the
mean,
age of
Popovich led them to 50-something wins
at
after
the age of
Duncan retired, right?
say what?
Popovich led the Spurs to 50 wins a couple of seasons after Duncan retired.
No,
So I
he
don't
did
think
not.
and listen, it was a brain fart. It was a brain fart.
And you know what? And to be commended for it, Greg Popovich is one of the greatest head coaches of all time. However, at the time that Tim Duncan was in his defensive prime, specifically during his peak, Greg Popovich was not the coach that we know to this day. So that whole point does not make any sense.
I don't know. You just said he fell off, and I still think
He
to this
didn't.
day
No,
Popovich
you
is a
said
great
he fell
mind.
off. You said he fell off.
No, I said
didn't say
Duncan fell
anybody
off
fell
a
off.
bit defensively, which he did.
And Duncan did
He
not
wasn't.
fall off.
Look. Nobody is the same guy at 38 as they
And
are
that
at
doesn't
25.
and that does
Nobody.
not mean that you fell off. That just means you weren't the defender that or offensive player that you once was.
Okay,
So
I agree. We can agree with it. We can agree there.
Okay.
We were.
Okay.
I mean, listen. A lot of people. Again, I don't disrespect your opinion. I just think that Kobe was second, and you think Kobe wasn't even top 3. Who? Okay, wait. You said Garnett was third, right? So Shaq, Duncan, Garnett, and then you come Kobe with 4.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, this is why I came to ask you who's your top 5 this year, because you're talking about 5 amazing players who you can really expect any of those guys to lead their team to a championship. Now, let's just go there, right? If SGA with this tremendous season, if his team got to the conference finals and got swept by an average of 22 points a game, would that be a blight on the season itself?
No.
So you don't think it would?
If they go up against the Dallas Mavericks and they get beat by an average of 21 points,
and a sweep,
that would not be a slight on Shea's record.
I think you know what it is? I think you're being a bit naive, brother. I really do.
It's not about being naive.
And
it's about
whether it's fair or not, it absolutely will reflect on the star. Listen, man, if Patrick Mahomes gets to the conference finals and his team gets blown out, even with all the success he's had, that's going to be a blight on his record, brother.
I don't know shit about football.
Okay.
You got it.
Oh, do you know about? I'm just trying to be metaphoric, right, and bring another perspective. I mean, baseball is a different
It
sport,
doesn't
but
that and no matter how you phrase it, I'm gonna tell you the same thing every single time. As when it comes to
so
basketball, the sport where individually you can influence things at
mhm,
a higher level than other sports,
that's
there
why I
are
use Patrick Mahomes. By the way,
there are still cases where you are out of control. You are out of control of certain elements. So if you go up against a team that is just more equipped with different personnel versatility wise that can be able to exploit different weaknesses of your team, it is not on you as the individual that occurs because you can't fix every single thing that's wrong with your team. I'm not going to look at LeBron James and every time he goes up against the Golden State Warriors and they hitting him every single which way because they got KD, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green all on the team. I'm not going to look at him to find the answer so that he could stop the bleeding because
understood,
there's things you
understood,
can't control.
understood. But look, let's go here. Let's go here. And I mean, maybe the people in the audience will see my football analogy for what it is. I would venture to believe that both the Lakers and the Spurs in 2001 were top 5 defenses, right? Without even looking at the numbers, let's just say they were top
And
10.
you would
There's
be
no
wrong.
way that the Lakers were
You
that
would be
dominant
wrong.
with not being a top 10 defense in the league
You
that
would be
year.
wrong. You would be
No, I'm just saying, because I want to preface this because both Kobe and Duncan, that means both Kobe and Duncan were playing up against an elite defense, elite or
No,
very
you
good
would be
defense
wrong. You would be
equally
wrong.
at the same time.
You would be
Wrong?
wrong. Yes, the Lakers were like 21st
They were
defensively.
21st. So you mean
Yes.
Kobe, you mean Duncan was going against the better defense, the worst defense? And I'm
Yep.
sure the Spurs were like top something, right?
And he did his job.
Okay, wait. But the Spurs as a team was top
The
3
Spurs,
defensively, right?
not sure.
If they
Uh,
any less than 5, I'd be shocked.
the Spurs were the best defense.
Best defense. So Kobe, this is good. This is when I land my plane. Kobe put up a dominant performance against the best defensive in the league. And Duncan was not as dominant against the 21st defense in the league.
And you know why he wasn't able he was able to feast on that team
Why?
because
I would tell you off the bat,
because
Derek Anderson was their best perimeter defender, and he only played 2 games, and I believe he was not 100%. I believe he had some injuries, and that was the
mhm,
situation.
he got hurt, but also the team's defensive rating is off of the regular season. So
Understood.
not having to see the Lakers 82 times
Of
helps to
course.
make your defense look a little bit better,
Of
especially
course.
when you're not going up against teams that have Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant to be matched up against. That helps
But,
your case. So
but see, then this comes to my
that's
point.
why.
This comes to my point. Because Kobe is Kobe and Shaq is Shaq. This is why that. So what I'm like, again, for those who don't understand football, if Patrick Mahomes got shut down by the top defense in the league, you would understand that. But if he's playing what's Buffalo's quarterback, and the Chiefs have a top 5 defensive well, and he has a dominant performance on the same football field, the same going up against the same at least caliber of defense. And at one, then you kind of got to give it to that guy this year. And the only thing, like, like Buffalo's quarterback is Josh Allen. So if Josh Allen went out there, or Lamar Jackson went out there and shredded the Street Chiefs defense, and their defense shut down Mahomes, and it's a 40-0. Now at that point, I got to give it to Lamar Jackson. I got to give it to Josh Allen, because this is, at this point, this is what I see now. Now look. By the time 03 comes in, Kobe, you want to tell me Duncan's the baddest man on the planet? I'll give it to you. Because now he has the performance. He has the performance that particular season to then do it. He has the performance that particular season, and he did it against the Lakers, right? They killed the Lakers, right?
Do you think the Houston Rockets had a better offense than the Golden State Warriors?
You talking about 17?
And 18,
18. Did they have a
20,
better
2017,
offense?
18,
Did they have a better
2017, 18,
offense?
Yes. Do you think they had a? Would
I
you say that
believe
they had a
both of
good
them were
offense?
elite offensive teams.
Do you think they were both elite defensively?
No, I know they weren't because one was coached by Mike D'Antoni.
Mike
And there ain't no
D'Antoni's
way a Mike
defensive.
D'Antoni team is going to be elite defensively anything. Okay,
Mike D'Antoni's defense was a better defense than the Golden State Warriors of 2018.
statistically,
Sorry to
wow.
say that.
Which is.
No,
I mean,
no,
well, look, Golden State. I
just,
mean, what's the name? Won
flat out
67
like,
games that year, right? 65 games, something like that. That's why that was
mm,
hard in MVP season as well, wasn't it?
mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, listen, the numbers can say what they say, but again, see,
It's not
sometimes the
about the
numbers say
numbers.
what they say because they say what they say.
It's
But
not about the numbers.
then what? Then what
They
is
were a
it? Because
better.
that's what you're using to judge.
They were a better defense because
I don't think.
they
Ah, my
integrated.
God. Listen, I
They
mean,
integrated. I'm trying to explain to you. Um, the numbers suggested, but even furthermore, you look at the Houston Rockets defensively, they integrated a switch heavy defense. That's why PJ Tucker got more shine in the media. That's why Trevor
yeah.
Ariza
PJ
got more
Tucker was his boy.
shine.
PJ Tucker, great defender.
And Clint Capella
Completely
got more
understand.
love. Luke Mute got more love because those
Capella.
are some of the more they
Did
got
they
some
have?
of the
Did
more
they have Rocco? Robert Covington?
no, they didn't get him until 2 years
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay. So these are great defensive pieces, and I can listen again. I mean, the fact that I want to know who's his assistant because I know like Mike D'Antoni don't give a crap about defense, but then okay, so they were great. Okay, what's the point?
The point is, those offensively, the Golden State Warriors were just they were a better offense than the Houston Rockets, just simply because they had more answers for that you could not possibly have a response for. If you focused on shutting down Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant was getting off. If you focused on getting KD off, Steph was getting off. And even if you had the weaponry to be able to conceal both of them, you just left the door open for Klay Thompson. So that's the point that I'm making.
I
Tim
might
Duncan,
agree. You know what?
Tim,
I might agree. I'm not sorry to cut you off, but I might agree. But do you think? I mean, you do realize that team played without Chris Paul in Game 6 and 7, right?
what does that mean?
I mean, they played without Chris Paul in Game 6 and 7. They were up 3-2 with Chris Paul. Very good chance that they win if Chris Paul is playing.
Well, you're talking about what could have been, but even
Yeah,
beforehand,
I
they
know,
were
and
still,
I hate to. I'll
they
be
were cool.
honest. I hate to do what could have been, but then again, that you got it is significant to the point you're trying to make because they were even without Chris Paul, they were up 14 at halftime of Game 7. Now again, in the end, Golden State won, but again, if we're gonna so this is when all of the Harden can't do anything in the playoff narrative should have ended because he was actually great in that playoff run, right? He was actually great in that playoff run,
He actually
but
wasn't.
huh?
He actually wasn't.
So what are you telling me? He had inefficient numbers. His
He was
numbers
inefficient. He was inefficient. He turned the ball over a lot. He
which is
had
what he always
phenomenal
does.
game.
He's always
He had
inefficient. He
he
always
had
turned the ball over a lot.
he's not always inefficient.
But he led a team
That's factually
within
correct.
one game of the conference of the
He's
finals.
he's not always inefficient. That's not true. That's not true.
I mean, if you go, boy, you say inefficient, like he's never going to shoot 55%
As
from the
far as
field, and
no,
he's always going to be
no,
elite in
55
turnovers. He's
is
always going to lead the league in
55 being the
turnovers.
mark. 55 being the mark is crazy. No, I'm talking about him like barely scratching the surface of 41%, shooting 29% on threes, 10 attempts a game, and he turning the ball over half of the times that he's recording an assist. That's what I'm
So
saying.
a two
That's
to one,
bad.
to a 2-to-1 turnover ratio, which
Mm,
a lot of guys will get, and that's actually acceptable. I mean, I
averaging four
listen, I get it.
turnovers, averaging 4 turnovers when I'm averaging 6.8 assists. You tell me, does that
So
sound
he only
good?
averaged 6.8 assists that playoff.
That playoff run, he averaged 6.8 assists and 4 turnovers.
All right, and you got to realize that at that point too, with Chris Paul, he's more off the ball than he is on the ball. I mean, listen, there's a lot of
Chris Paul,
things.
Chris Paul during that stretch was absolutely fine. He was like, I don't
Look,
understand
Chris Paul
what that
probably
was
has the
saying.
highest. I think Chris Paul might have the second or third highest assist to turnover ratio of all time, and
Actually,
your man
CP3 had a
Tyus
higher
Jones probably
usage.
has the
That's what's
highest.
crazy. CP3, you want to know what's even crazier, Naj? CP3 had a higher usage than he had a higher usage than James Harden in the Western Conference Finals. And
Okay.
even during the postseason, he had the same usage he had in the regular season.
All right, listen, I'm not a Paul fan, but again, see, Chris Paul's another player I dislike, but I will never deny how good he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing. I might dislike a guy, but listen, when they're that good, you just give them their props, you know?
I just
You just give them
think
their props.
when it comes to this conversation, Kobe Bryant is being put over players like Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett just simply because he put up better counting stats. He was on a team that was more successful. And so the context just completely gets removed from what these players were, the circumstances that these players were in. And I vehemently disagree with it because I think I don't think anybody would put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar ahead of a player like Michael Jordan just simply because he has one more MVP. Like, obviously, we understand the circumstance that Michael Jordan had, and he still overachieved. That's part of the reason why a lot of people still have Jordan as the greatest of all time. So I would just like I would like it to be consistent. If we're valuing circumstance and we're valuing dominance, I think a player being able to lead his team to 50 wins for 16 straight years, I think that is commendable. I think a player being able to lead his team to the postseason and see success that only rivals some of the greatest dynasties in NBA history, I think that should be viewed as commendable. And I think somebody being able to peak at historic levels on either the offensive or defensive side, I think that is commendable as doing all of those other things. And all of that is Tim Duncan. So I just want respect put on Tim Duncan's name, but that's all.
All
All right,
right.
y'all.
Yeah, and in contrast, I mean, again, when Kobe is the reason, when you can say a team is as great as they are because of Kobe. Like, see, you said his team wasn't as good as Kobe's, and because he wasn't Kobe. You understand what I'm saying? Like, again, 2006 to 2007 to 2010. So those 3 seasons, 07, 08, 08, 09, and 09, 10. The Lakers were the best because Kobe Bryant was Kobe Bryant. And see, that's what I'm saying. It's like when you say, oh, his team. See, the first thing I judge is you're an all-time great. How great did you make your team? You see what I'm saying? Like, they want to, like, LeBron fans will come at Michael Jordan. Well, he had a great team. Well, when they were 72-10, they were 72-10 because Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. LeBron James never had a 72-win team because he was never Michael Jordan. You get what I'm saying? Like,
partially, but I get the point that you're making, albeit the Michael Jordan LeBron thing. I get what you mean, though.
yeah, it's like you can't fault a guy for being a great team, having a great team when he was the main or second main reason they were a great team. See, again, I will say the Spurs were consistently great because Duncan was Duncan. But when you don't reach the level of dominance that a Kobe Bryant did with the 3-peat, the 4 finals in 5 years with Shaq, and then the three straight final runs without Shaq, that you can't say, well, it's not fair. Duncan didn't have that, but I mean, you think if you took Kobe off those teams, they're making even to the second round. You see what I'm saying? And it's just like you kind of gotta be fair. So again, I do when we get off into the tangents, right? And we start going up to the latter part of his career to talk about post Achilles, talking about the 14 finals, the 13 and 14 finals when Duncan was. We got to remember we were talking about 2001. And I started here by saying I thought Kobe was the second best player. That's when he jumped in and said, no, I thought it was Duncan, and I don't even have Duncan. I don't even have Kobe. I thought Garnett was ahead of. And again, like I said, bro, I wanted to believe that Garnett was better. I was more of a Garnett fan than I was a Kobe fan. But I can't objectively do it when Garnett is getting knocked out in the first round and Kobe is having all-world And then he had it again in 2002. You know, I mean, look, we know what happened in 2002, and I will sit there and say that the Kings were absolutely robbed because the NBA was crapping their diapers on having a a Sacramento versus Brooklyn. Let me tell you something, bro. In 2002, I went to Brooklyn. Brooklyn Nets. I went to a New Jersey Nets game out in the Izard Center out in, wasn't it? If there was 5,000 people in that damn arena, I mean, me and my boy went out there and we're like, why don't they let us go sit courtside? Like nobody's down there. So
Yeah.
that would have been a two worst market to when you're in a situation when you're trying, because I think they were switching over to ESPN at that point, right? So if you want ESPN to up the ante and Turner to up the ante in the bidding war, you couldn't have two teams like that who are basically going to draw you look, I actually thought that would have been the most competitive. And let's get back to what we were talking about, right? When you sell two great teams, I actually thought those were the two best teams. Well, that was the best team in the East. They probably were 3 or 4 better than the Nets, but I thought Sacramento versus New Jersey would have been a fun finals, right? I thought those teams I thought that finals would have won 6. I think Sacramento would have won in 6, but I thought you got Bibby versus Kidd, you got Kmart and Weber. I thought that would have, but they needed to have Shaq and Kobe, and obviously the finals was just a huge mismatch, but they had to have Shaq and Kobe. So therefore, that game six was just, that was the worst thing I've ever seen as far as fix. That's when I believe that the NBA was akin to the WWE as far as fixing the outcome. But you see what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you still can't take away from the fact that Kobe was an outstanding player. If I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would venture to believe that he averaged at least 26, 27 points a game. Maybe he got 25 or whatever. But Kobe was was just one of the best players on the planet. And again, you're talking about a guy. If I go back in time and I remember watching it. I was at work. I worked in a laundromat at the time. This is 2002. And I just could not believe what I saw. I mean, Tim Donaghy was on that game. He all but confirmed it. I've always felt that the league will drop memos to the refs. We want to see this guy on the line so many times. Kind of call it a little tighter. Because at the end of the day, they're selling players. They're selling it like Shaq and Kobe was going to sell that finals. Not good basketball. The best basketball that would have been played in that 2002 finals would have been New Jersey Nets versus Sacramento Kings. But those were two teams that they just felt they could not sell. And that's a lot of the times it's probably wrong with the NBA because, you could have a Tampa Bay, you could have two little crappy, you could have Jacksonville in the Super Bowl, and 50 million people are still going to watch it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that's a good place to stop. I think you both you and Casual made some great points. I know it kind of went side a little bit with the whole Duncan versus Kobe.
Yeah, I apologize for that too.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I like basketball as passionate. Like you rock for, even though you say you're not even a Kobe fan, you feel he's that great that you have to say something. And that to itself speaks to just how great Kobe was. And we had the whole conversation. Was he a sidekick during those three-peats? It's subjective because, like you said, his impact, it could be 1A, 1B. Sometimes he outperformed Shaq, and sometimes Shaq outperformed him, wherever the season in the three-peat. But it doesn't take away from either one of their greatness.
Bingo.
And that's pretty much the end of it. But yeah, I mean, this was a great show. I definitely think King's Speech for showing up. I think Casual for pulling up. I know CW had to run out to go pick up his son, but glad he could make it. And yeah, man, I mean, this was great. I appreciate you for coming on for real, and I appreciate all the comments and anybody who sticked around the live. This is a great show, man. And
yeah, appreciate the invite, man. Listen, man, I look forward to coming up more. I got the invite, like I said. Listen, I'm making my rounds, doing my thing, trying to get my own little channel up. I'm just doing rants, basketball rants, stuff like that. I just want to. I mean, listen. I just want. Again, I see the game a certain way. I know other people see it a different way. I just want people to like really understand the truth in these conversations, because a lot of what's going on out there is the media. Again, the media is telling you what they want you to see, and I think one of the things I think is if they push pure basketball again, the league will because the league is a great league. The talent is great and all of that. But push pure basketball, tell the truth. Stop saying things like Jalen Brunson isn't a 1A guy, and then the guy goes out there and gets 40 points a games. I mean, like a 1A guy is going to do that in the playoffs, right? Stop. I mean, the whole Kobe as a sidekick again. You're right. It's subjective, but then. I mean, come on. You the second best player in the league cannot be a top 5 player can't be a sidekick. I put it that way, right? A sidekick got to be at least 10, 15, 20. I mean, so it really is just some of these conversations. Listen, Gil will do what Gil do to go viral. Some of these they doing what they're saying to go viral. Again, I mean, look, when you talk about one great player and the other great player, it's not like. I mean, it's not like I'm saying Popeye Jones is better than Dennis Rodman. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like I'm saying Popeye Jones is better than Kevin Garnett. At that point, you got to start blood testing people at work, or piss testing people at work, right? But we're talking about Kobe versus Duncan versus Garnett, Shaq. I mean, that's when we have a fun debate, because you can prefer your guy for these reasons. I can prefer. It's actually a debate worth having, So that's what I want to say. And like I said, I'm just out here to speak the truth. There's a lot of lies, a lot of narratives being pushed out there. And I think if you put truth in these conversations, you won't have what you have, man. So thanks for having me. I'm going to sign off on that. Like I said, King Speaks is out here to give you the truth and nothing but the truth.
You heard him here first, y'all. We appreciate him for coming through. We appreciate y'all. And until the next time, leave a like on the video, drop a comment down below on who you think Shaq or Kobe. Is Kobe the best sidekick of all time? Was he as good as Shaq? And let me know who you guys have for this Thunder Cavs game. But until next time, guys, we're going to sign out. Y'all have a blessed one.
Good night. All right.